Welcome back, students. This is Samantha Singh Rathod, PGT History, KV number 2, Jammu Camp. Sixth theme, name of the chapter, Bhakti Sufi Traditions, Changes in Religious Beliefs and Devotional Texts, circa 8th to 18th century. In this, we'll be doing the 8th subtopic now, that is New Devotional Paths, Dialogue and Descent in Northern India. In this subtopic, we will be studying about Kabir, Guru Nanak and Mirabai, who are the Bhakti saints during this period in northern India. Now coming to the underlining process, come to the second paragraph, start with Kabir, circa 14th, 15th centuries, is one of the most outstanding examples of a poet saint till here. Kabir's time period was 14th and 15th century and he is known as a poet saint. Next point, verses ascribed to Kabir have been compiled in three distinct traditions. So whatever Kabir has taught, that has been compiled in three different traditions. We'll study which traditions these are. Next point, the Kabir Bijak is preserved by the Kabir Panth in Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh. So one of the three is, the first one is the Kabir Bijak and it is preserved by the Kabir Panth, that is the people who are following the path of Kabir, and they call themselves as Kabir Panthi, and the writings is known as Kabir Bijak. Now the next point, the Kabir Granthavali is associated with the Dadu Panth in Rajasthan. So another one is the Kabir Granthavali, and this has been preserved by the Dadu Panthi in Rajasthan, who are the followers of Dadu. He was also a saint, and in this also there are sayings, verses, poems of Kabir Das. Next point, many of his compositions are found in Adi Granth Sahib. So there are three traditions in which we get verses of Kabir, and these are in Kabir Bijaks, which are preserved by the Kabir Panthis, Kabir Granthavali, which is associated with Dadu Panthis in Rajasthan, and in Adi Granth Sahib, which is the holy sacred book of the Sikhs. Next point, all these manuscripts, compilations were made long after the death of Kabir. So all these manuscripts, handwritten books, are preserved after the death of Kabir. Next point, Kabir's poems have survived in several languages and dialects. His poems have been written in several languages and in different local languages also. Next point, some are composed in special languages of Nigund poets, the Sant Bhasha. So some are in special languages of the Nigund poets. Nigund poets are the saints who not worship any form of a god. So those are known as Nigund saints or poets. That tradition is known as Sant Bhasha. Next point, others known as Ult Bansi, upside down saying. So one is the Sant Bhasha, which is of the Nigund poets. Nigund poets are worshippers of no form of a god. And the other one is the Ult Bansi, that is upside down sayings. Next point. Now this will be the teaching of Kabir. Islam, he described the ultimate reality as Allah, Khuda, Hazrat and Pir. So what he's trying to say, that in Islam, get the idea of unity, Allah, Khuda, Hazrat, Pir, these are all, there are different words having the same meaning. Next point, he also used terms drawn from Vedantic traditions, Alak, the unseen, Nirakar, formless, Brahman, Atma, etc. So he used words also drawn from the Vedantic traditions. Next point, other terms such as shabd, sound, or shunya, emptiness, were drawn from the yogic traditions. So Kabir borrowed his teachings from Islam, from the Vedic traditions, and from the yogic traditions. And he developed an idea of unity of brotherhood, mankind. Come to next page. Next point. Some poems attack polytheism and idol worship. So some of his poems are also attacking polytheism, that is worshipping more than one god. This is mostly practiced in Hinduism, and even idol worship was criticized by Kabir. Come to next point, next paragraph, fifth line. Kabir is a source of inspiration for those who questioned social institutions, ideas, and practices in their search for the divine. So, Kabir criticized the social evils in the social institutions. He was against the caste and gender discrimination. He fought for the religious harmony which should be respected. He respected the vernacular language, local languages of the people. He opposed elaborate rituals by the priests, etc. Next point. Kabir's ideas probably crystallized through dialogues and debates. So what he wanted, that persons should try to get close to the God only through discussions and dialogues. Next point, come to the last paragraph. Hagiographies within the Vaishnav traditions suggest that he was born a Hindu. Come to leave the next line, come to the next line. But was raised by a poor Muslim family belonging to the community of weavers or jewelers. Hagiographies are giving a brief sketch about his personal life. Kabir was born as a Hindu, but he was raised by the Muslim family of from the community of the weavers or jewelers. Next point, he was into bhakti by Guru Ramananda. So his guru is Ramananda. Now coming to the next page, historians have pointed out that it is very difficult to establish that Ramanand and Kabir were contemporaries. Many historians think that the time period of Ramanand and Kabir was not contemporary, was not the same, and therefore we cannot regard Ramananda as the teacher of Kabir. But in many books we get to know that Ramanand was the guru of Kabir. So in this, if a question comes that who was the guru of Kabir, the answer should be Ramananda. Now coming to the next subtopic, that is Baba Guru Nanak and the sacred word. First point, Baba Guru Nanak 1469 to 1539 was born in a Hindu merchant family in a village called Nanakna Sahib near the river Ravi. Next point, the message of Baba Guru Nanak is spelled out in his hymns and teachings. So whatever message Baba Guru Nanak wanted to give out, that is through his hymns and teachings. Next point, he advocated a form of Nigund Bhakti. Again, like Kabir, even Guru Nanak is a Nigund Bhakti saint, that there is no form of the God towards which the Bhakti has to be done. Next point, he rejected sacrifices, ritual baths, image worship, austerities, and the scriptures of both Hindus and Muslims. Austerities means living without unnecessary things, living a simple life. So what he rejected, sacrifices, ritual baths, image worships, people who are trying to show off, and scriptures, that is God happy by giving donations to the God. So this was all condemned by Guru Nanak. Next point, For Baba Guru Nanak, the absolute or Rab had no gender or form. He proposed a simple way to connect to the divine by remembering and repeating the divine name. So for Baba Guru Nanak, there was no form of the God or the divine, and there was no gender, and to connect to the divine we should keep repeating the divine name regularly. Next point, expressing his ideas through hymns called Shabd in Punjabi. So these hymns or these poems which he composed were known as Shabd in Punjabi. Next point, his attendant Mardana played the rabab. So rabab is a musical instrument, and this was played by one of his attendant named Mardana. This is important for one word question. Next point, Baba Guru Nanak organized his followers into a community. He set up rules for congregational worship, sangat, clear. Next point, he appointed one of his disciples, Angad, to succeed him as the preceptor Guru. So after Guru Nanak, he appointed his disciple Angad as his next successor. Next point, next paragraph, Baba Guru Nanak did not wish to establish a new religion, but after his death, his followers consolidated their own practices and distinguished themselves from both Hindus and Muslims. Baba Guru Nanak never wanted to establish any religion such as Sikhism, but his followers, they distinguished themselves from the Hindus and the Muslims. Next point, the fifth preceptor Guru Arjan compiled Baba Guru Nanak's hymns along with those of his four successors and other religious poets like Baba Farid, Ravidas, also known as Raidas, and Kabir in Adi Granth Sahib. This is the holy book of the Sikhs, and in this book there are hymns of Guru Nanak and the other four successors of Guru Nanak, and this was all compiled by Guru Arjan Dev Ji. And in this Adi Granth Sahib there are sayings, hymns of Baba Farid, Ravidas, also known as Raidas, and also of Kabir. Next point, these hymns called Guru Bani are composed in various, to the next page, languages. So these hymns or the poems are called Gurbani and they are composed in various languages. Next point, Guru Govind Singh included the composition of the ninth Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur, and his scriptures was called the Guru Granth Sahib. So in the Guru Granth Sahib, Guru Govind Singh, he included the composition of the ninth Guru. The ninth Guru is Guru Tegh Bahadur in the book, the sacred book of the Sikhs known as Guru Granth Sahib. Next point, Guru Govind Singh, he is the 10th Guru. Guru Govind Singh also laid the foundation of the Khalsa Panth, army of the pure, and defined its 5 symbols: uncut hair, a dagger, a pair of swords, a comb, and a steel bangle. So Guru Govind Singh, who was the last Guru, the 10th Guru of the Sikhs, he founded a Khalsa Panth, that is known as the army of the pure, and he defined 4 symbols for them. Khalsa person should not cut their hair, he should have a dagger with himself, he should wear a pair of shorts, he should keep a comb with himself, and wear a steel bangle, that is a kada. Next point, under him the community got consolidated as a socio-religious and military force. So under Guru Govind Singh, the Sikhs were consolidated as a socio-religious and as well as a military force. Now we come to the next subtopic, that is Mirabai, the devotee princess. First point in this, Mirabai, circa 15th to 16th centuries, is the best known woman poet within the Bhakti tradition. Next point, come to this line. She was a Rajput princess from Mehta in Marwar who was married against her wishes to the prince of Sisodia clan of Mewar, Rajasthan. She was a Rajput princess from Mehta in Marwar. Marwar is the area of which was under the Jodhpur ruling class, and she was married against her wishes to the prince of Sisodia clan, who were the rulers of Mewar in today Udaipur region of Rajasthan. Next point. She defied her husband and did not submit to the traditional role of wife and mother. Instead, recognized Krishna, the avatar of Vishnu, as her lover. So she rejected her husband and did not submit to the traditional role of a wife or a mother, and she recognized Krishna, who was the avatar of Vishnu, as her lover. Next point. Her in-laws tried to poison her, but she escaped from the palace to live as a wandering saint, composing songs that are characterized by intense expression of emotions. So when she recognized Krishna as her lover and she did not follow the traditional role of wife and a mother, she was poisoned by her in-laws, but she escaped the palace and she started to live a wandering life as a saint and compose songs which had a lot of emotions in them. Come to the next page. Next point. Her preceptor was Redas, a leather worker. This would indicate her defense of the norms of the caste society. So her guru was Redas and he was from a lower strata of the society. He was a leather worker, and this indicates Mirabai refused to accept the norms of the caste system which was prevalent during that particular time. Mirabai, next point, Mirabai did not attract a sect or group of followers. She has been recognized as a source of inspiration for centuries. Mirabai did not start a panth or a sect with her followers, but she is recognized as an inspiration for the women for centuries. Now coming to the next topic, reconstructing history of religious traditions. So how do historians reconstruct these religious traditions and what are the difficulties they face? First point, historians draw on a variety of sources to reconstruct histories of religious traditions. These include sculpture, architecture, stories about religious preceptors, compositions attributed to women and men engaged in the quest of understanding the nature of the divine. So historians follow a number of sources to reconstruct religious traditions or religious practices. Next point, come to next paragraph, middle of the paragraph. They range from the simple direct language of the vachanas of Basuna to the ornate portion of the Farman of the Mughal emperors. These writings, compositions of various religious teachers range from simple compositions such as the vachanas of the Baswanas in Karnataka or from the Persians ornate. In out here, ornate means something that is decorated with designs. The Farmans of the Mughal emperor which are decorated with designs. So these all have been very helpful for the historians to understand the religious traditions. Next point, understanding each type of text requires different skills. Now to understand the simple language or also the decorated design, person who is reading these requires a very different skill to understand this. He needs to be very skilled in what he is trying to gain information from this source. Next point, the historian has to be aware of the subtle variation in styles that characterize each genre. Genre means type and subtle means clever and indirect method difficult to analyze. So because the teachers during this period, they are using different styles. For example, Kabir is using a different style, Mirabai is using a different style, Guru Nanak is using style. So the historians, when they are reading all this, needs to be very specific and to be clear, and should be very aware what the actual meaning of these words. Now after this, let's go to the question part on these topics. First we'll come to the objective type questions, these to make you understand the topic in a better way. Objective question, objective type questions. First question, consider the following statements. First is, verses ascribed to Kabir have been compiled in three distinct but overlapping traditions. Second option, the Kabir Bijak is preserved by Kabir Panth, the path or the sect of Kabir in Varanasi and elsewhere in Uttar Pradesh. Third, the Kabir Granthavali is associated with the Dadu Panth in Haryana. Fourth, many of his compositions are found in the Adi Granth Sahib. Now what do we have to find? Which of the above are correct? Third, the Kabir Granthavali is associated with the Dadu Panth in Haryana. Now Dadu Panth is in Rajasthan, not in Haryana. So the third option is incorrect. This option, A option, having 1, 2 and 4 are correct. Come to the second. Choose the incorrect option. Kabir's poems have survived in several languages and dialects. This is correct. Kabir's some poems are composed in special languages of Sargun poets, the Saint Bhasha. Bansi, upside down sayings are written in a form in which everyday meanings are inverted. He used terms drawn from Vedic traditions, Alakh, the unseen, Nirakar, formless, Brahm, Atma, etc. Now in this, the B option, which is mentioning special languages of Sargun poet, the Sant Bhasha. Kabir was related to Nirgun Bhakti. So out here, this word Sargun, out here it should be Nirgun poets. So our option which is incorrect is B. Now coming to the third question, Baba Guru Nanak proposed a simple way to connect to the divine by remembering and repeating the divine name, expressing his ideas through hymns called blank in Punjabi, the language of the region. So his hymns, ideas have been written in Punjabi and they are known as Shabads. Choose the correct options. The Guru who compiled the Adi Granth Sahib, Arjan Dev, Baba Guru Nanak, Baba Farid, Ravidas, also known as Raidas. All these B, C and D, their hymns, their teachings has been included in the Adi Granth, and Adi Granth has been compiled by the 5th Sikh Guru named Guru Arjan Dev Ji. So our option A will be right. Name the Guru who laid the foundation of the Khalsa Panth, the army of the pure. So out here the answer will be the 10th Guru, Guru Govind Singh. Next question, name a woman poet within the Bhakti tradition. That for this answer we will write down Mirabai. Next question, 7. Amongst the following, which is not true of Baba Guru Nanak? Not true. He laid the foundation of the Khalsa Panth. He advocated Nirgun form of Bhakti. He did not wish to establish a new religion. He was born in Punjab. Option will be A. He did not lay the foundation of the Khalsa Panth. The Panth was laid down by the 10th Guru, Guru Govind Singh. Next question, Kabir was a trader, magician, poet, saint, court painter. So the answer will be poet saint. Short question, how did Kabir describe the ultimate reality through his poems? For this answer we will be in this paragraph and parts of this paragraph. Next question, who was Guru Nanak Dev? What type of bhakti he suggested? Again for this answer we will come to this paragraph subtopic Baba Guru Nanak and the sacred word, and in first two paragraphs our answer will be there. Next question, who was Mirabai? Whom did she worship? For this, we'll come to this subtopic, that is Mirabai, the devotee princess, and in this paragraph our answer would be there. Now for the long question, explain the major teachings of Kabir, Guru Nanak and Mirabai and analyze how they were preserved. So now what do we need to cover in this answer? This long question is of 350 words, and a word limit, we should be very clear about our word limit. It should be approximately near the figure of 350 words. So what we need to include is Kabir, poet, saint, dohas, ult bansi, ultimate reality, love, Hindu Muslim unity, Vijay, Granthavali, Adi Granth Sahib, then his teachings. Then we need to write in about Nanak, hymns and teachings, Nigun Bhakti, rejected sacrifices and rituals, Shabd, Gurbani, Adi Granth Sahib, then about Khalsa Panth, about Guru Gobind Singh, about Guru Tegh Bahadur, Guru Arjan Dev. Then coming to Mirabai, woman poet, devotee of Krishna, attracted, low caste, Redas, bhajans, etc. So the main focus on this long question should be that we should try to write around 350 words, and which we should try to draw maps, make flow charts and make this answer more attractive. So with this we come to the end of this topic. Thank you all.